could you please introduce yourself with your full name, your occupation, and what you're doing here today?
Okay, my name is Camila Gomez. I am a biologist. I study migratory birds, and I'm also the director of Selva's education and communication program. Selva is a NGO, a Colombian NGO dedicated to doing research for conservation of biodiversity and people.
Thank you. When and why did you create Selva?
Selva, wow, that's a great question. We created Selva in 2009 as a group of young professionals. We were a little bit, me and a group of another 5 colleagues, we were a bit frustrated. We all used to work in different NGOs, and it was a bit frustrating because we had lots of ideas of projects that we wanted to do. And it was really hard to do whatever we wanted to do. We had all these great ideas of research and stuff, and we said, well, we need to have our own platform for research. And so, yeah, that's how we decided the way to go was to found our own little NGO to be able to have this institutional platform to raise funds to do the projects that we wanted to do.
Can you talk a little bit more about the projects that Selva incorporates into conservation, and how about what's your favorite project?
Okay, well, Selva has different programs. So we have our migratory ecology program, and it's a big program in which we tackle all of the research projects involving migratory species, migratory non-breeding migratory ecology, stopover behavior, and strategic planning of conservation for migratory species. A second program is the Conservation Science Program, and it's focused on applied science topics on neotropical species in general, birds and other things, with applied conservation. So, for instance, there's programs on distribution ranges of endangered species and endemic species. There's projects on sustainable practices for coffee management for biodiversity, all sorts of things. And then there's our third program is the Sustainable Landscapes Program, a program that is destined sort of to use all the research that we generate, we and other people generate, and produce actions on the ground. So conservation actions, management actions that benefit biodiversity and people's welfare, of course. And then the fourth and last program is the Education and Training and Communications Program, which is sort of a parallel between all the other ones. And that program, it aims to bridge knowledge gaps. So we communicate the science to diverse audiences and try to reach people that aren't necessarily involved in different aspects of research. So for instance, local communities and the academic communities, try to connect those two and learn from each other. And we also do building capacity. So we give out workshops, we train students, we mentor university students and supervise their, graduate and undergraduate thesis, for example. And then we also do communications of our work as well, of our research, of our conservation actions, etc.
That's awesome. When y'all are doing those educational activities and mentoring, is there a specific type of student that you see who's really interested in this work?
Oh, I mean, it's more like students have to reach out to us because we are not a university. But we do have lots of contacts with universities, both here in Colombia and abroad, and with professors, because we all come from an academic background. So we really enjoy that contact with students and enjoying academia without being in academia, sort of thing. And so there's all sorts of really keen and brilliant students that come along from everywhere that have very different interests too. So some people are more socially focused, some people are exclusively research and ecologically focused as well. But it's really fun because we get to mix all these different interests and then support really different and exciting types of projects. Gotta be.
Thank you. I wanted to ask a little bit about your experience of founding Selva, and I think you mentioned that you worked with some co-founders, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it was actually 5 of us. We're friends, young professionals, all of us biologists. And it was a steep learning curve founding Selva because as trained as biologists, we had no idea of, managing a business, an NGO, and, navigating all these different accounting and administration things that you have to learn when you're founding a new institution. And we were all super young. We had no money, so it was all volunteering and learning and asking other people, how is this done? It was a steep learning curve, but we were so driven. We really, really wanted to do it, and the key to this is being persistent. If you really love what you're doing, then you don't mind just putting the time and effort to really make it happen and to improve it. And that was in 2009, and we're still going, so it's pretty good. It's grown a lot since then. We started as a group of five friends, basically. And now there's more than, on and off projects and stuff, there's more than 60 people that work with Selva around Colombia and Central America, so it's pretty sweet.
Incredible, and congratulations. That must have taken a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's so rewarding though, and it's ups and downs, of course. Getting funding for things is hard, and it's not stable all the time. You depend on projects, but it's really fun. It's really rewarding to be able to do what you want to do, and you're your own boss as well. Don't have to deal with, bureaucracy and stuff of big institutions. That's really, so it's great. Yeah. It's rewarding.
Also, would you like some bug spray? I think there's some over there that we can grab.
Maybe you could get rid of this fly.
The singular fly that wants.
I know, and it's gonna be in all your shots too.
It'll be famous though.
Yeah.
It'll live on. The fly that I think there was a video that went viral of Joe Biden with a fly on his face.
Oh my God! Yeah, I'm gonna be as famous as that one.
My mom has diabetes, so for some reason, mosquitoes don't go up to her.
Oh, that's so lucky! Oh my God! The one good thing about having diabetes.
They don't want you.
Right. I'm gonna put some of this on my face. Thank you, girls. You saved my life.
And then
Thank you for dealing with this mosquito.
I know, damn it.
Yes, we were trying to go
Lots
with
of insects.
Our Selva theme is red flowers. Serico also has red flowers. And then we interviewed with Sori.
Yeah.
Next to those red flowers on the entrance.
Lovely. So you're gonna be the red flower
For the
set.
theme.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So to give you some context, our project focuses on women in coffee. We are expanding also to just look at the roles of women and how they've changed over time in the biodiversity space and conservation and agriculture. And so we wanted to ask a little bit about what it's like to be a woman in your field, and specifically a woman founder of a very successful organization.
Yeah, well, there's still few of us. There's still few of us in this, even in academia. And in growing, my generation, I guess, is almost half and half. It's been growing, but especially as you advance in your career, many women drop out because they become moms or many other reasons. There's many other reasons, but they do drop out more than men. So we are less, definitely less biologists, less ornithologists. But that's changed a lot, and there's a really strong movement of women in science and women in ornithology. And here in Colombia, very recently, there was a founding a group of actually it was students that decided to create a woman network of ornithologists, and it's really strong, and it's meant to support girls and women that are going through their careers or want to, so that they don't drop out, to keep these talents and these talented women in ornithology in Colombia. And to me, it's been a really great experience. I've been really, really lucky, really privileged in many ways, because I've been able to learn from fantastic professors, to interact with a great diversity of people, and so that has built me. It sort of projected me and helped me through what I've wanted to do. So yeah, it's great, and I'm really supportive and really happy that more women are getting interested in continuing scientific careers, and particularly ornithology. And not only science, but also just birding and being involved in bird conservation in any way possible. I think women play a really, really important role in that. And so I'm really happy to support that movement and be, to serve like a, I wouldn't say a role model, but sort of an example for girls that are behind, you know, younger generations that can carry on and say, yeah, this is possible. And well, also I'm a mother and I have a young daughter, and that's a hard job. That's a hard job to combine motherhood and science and work, because it's a lot of work to be your own boss. You end up working sometimes 2 times or 3 times more than you would with a regular job. But it's also flexible, and I love my work and my family so much, and I have support as well. So luckily I've been able to do both things fine. You have to give and take sometimes and negotiate priorities, of course. But yeah, it's definitely possible. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean about being your own boss. I hear that a lot of founders, they just spend, 80, 100 hours a week working on it. I'm sure
Right. You never stop. You never stop, and you have to do everything, because you are, you're the cleaner, you're the administrator, you're the accountant, you're the scientist, you're everyone. So you have like 5 jobs in one, and it's never stops. But on the other hand, you do what you want to do.
Vacation
So it's
time.
yeah, exactly. So it's good.
You mentioned a women network of ornithologists. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, well it's a network. It started very recently. I think it was only last year, during the Colombian Ornithological Conference last year, a group of women students got together and said, we really want to strengthen the network of women in ornithology in Colombia. Not only to I guess put out their messages of things that had gone wrong. There's all sorts of things. As in ornithology and all the sciences, women face lots of challenges, and there's cases of abuse and all these things that do happen sometimes in university or in working environments against women. And so to get their voices out there and these messages heard, and saying like, we're not going to take this has to change, for instance, but also just to support like the network as a group, to provide opportunities for mentorship, for jobs, for grants, for things for women in ornithology, and sort of help each other to improve and to advance wherever we want to go. And it's been really interesting. I was like, yeah, I'm part of that. I love it. I'm going to go. And there's different groups, and there's talks that we carry out, and people share information of things that are going on. And it's really dynamic, and it's grown a lot. There's women all over the country that are part of the network now, and young students join every day. So it's really, really encouraging and cool to be part of this movement that just started.
That's incredible. I'm really excited that the students came up with that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's very admirable.
Yeah, it is. Is there like a specific thing that got you into ornithology specifically?
Oh, well, I've always loved being outside and enjoying nature, hiking, and then I guess I started loving birds because I used to walk through my farm with my grandfather. And he was very knowledgeable about birds, and he used to show me, that one's called that and it eats that. And he encouraged me to ask questions and wonder why things happened, why birds did what they did. So I guess that really got me interested initially. And then when I studied biology during my undergrad, I had a good ornithology professor that just completed the hook. and I just got fascinated by you could answer almost any ecological or biological question using birds as a study system, which is fascinating. It's really cool. And yeah, they're just so beautiful. Who doesn't like birds?
Is there any specific characteristics of birds that kind of that got you hooked, like say their resilience or their migration?
Well, there's sheer diversity, pretty much. I mean, there's birds that do all sorts of things. There's tiny and huge birds, colorful, drab, with huge bills, with tiny bills, long legs, tiny legs. And so their ecologies are so diverse. They can be found in absolutely every ecosystem on the planet, doing a million different things. So that diversity of behaviors, colors, evolutions just struck me as just so wonderful. It's like an infinite treasure of questions and amazement for me.
Sorry, just sorting myself out.
Yeah.
But no, that's really wonderful. I feel like we've seen a lot of birds that we never have seen before here, and it's made me a lot more interested in them for sure, because I didn't
Cool.
really pay much attention to the pigeons in Texas.
Yeah, I know. The dawn chorus. Yes, it's so beautiful. There's just so many different ones. It's crazy. They're lovely. Yeah.
Yes, I feel like I'm in those like 4K HD YouTube videos that I watch to study that are like traveling through the woods
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah.
I know that you pursued a good amount of higher education in addition to your bachelor's degree, and I wanted to ask what you kind of think the role of women in higher education is, and if you're seeing more women interested in that.
I'm really happy that I am seeing more women interested in higher education. There's lots of women that do like their undergrads and want to carry on to do a master's or even a PhD afterwards. And I wish there were more women professors in this, particularly in the science in my field, because there aren't that many. So at that point, many drop out for many reasons, for many different reasons, but there aren't as many women professors. So young students lack these examples, you know, of really bright and strong and successful role models that can, you know, serve as a guide. I mean, I have absolutely nothing about good men professors either, because they're really good role models and there's brilliant people out there. But it's good to have a balance, I think. And so when there's women professors or women mentors higher in an academic career, they serve as role models and as mentors for young students. And they're a good example of how you can balance things, probably. How you can balance being a woman, maybe having a family if you choose to have one, or doing whatever you want to do and succeeding in any field that you choose. So I think it is very important to have a balance between men and women in anything, really.
Is there anything specific that you think can be done to bring more women into positions of power as professors or administrators?
I think the working culture has to be slightly more flexible because of our, you know, male-dominated history. The working culture is really male biased, and it's not flexible towards specific needs of women, like motherhood, for instance. So that makes it really hard for women to have to adapt to this male-dominated culture, and it shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way. So I think slight shifts in that working and culture and environment that don't require women to have to renounce to their needs or to different periods in their lives that require different attentions or time dedicated to different things. That would improve and make it easier for women to carry on and not have to drop out from any career.
Yes, I know that like in economics, when I was an economics major, the only woman who was an economist who wasn't the wife of another economist,
Yeah.
I only knew one. And I guess like one of the things that like professors are attracted to because of like our university is that we have like free childcare for faculty members.
Exactly. Childcare is a big one, and just flexibility. Because if you are a mother, and even if you're not a mother, because being a woman is not just about being a mother. But if you are one, then you need certain periods of time where you can need the flexibility, because you have to focus on your child or whatever, right? And you have to do that, and the world can burn, and you will focus on that child. That's how it goes. And so if there isn't any flexibility, people will just end up dropping out. They won't have. So childcare is huge. And then there's other, you know, like other situations of womanhood that require for you to be able to have flexibility. And that's really, really important. Understanding that and giving the resources and the opportunities for women to just feel free to carry on and to boost their own potential, because they're brilliant.
I was gonna say, is there any direct words of encouragement you can give women who are struggling to continue with their careers?
Breathe in, breathe out, and don't give up. Don't give up. And you know, sometimes we need to make breaks as well, because life takes us in different directions, but we don't need to give up entirely. And maybe, you know, get a situation under control, stop one thing, focus on another, and then carry on and take your time and be strong. Don't give up.
Good advice.
I really love that idea. I think we as a group spend a lot of time talking about womanhood and like the roles involved in being a woman, and there are so many
bases to cover.
That's where this project was born from, I think, is like women have so many different roles, and we want to make sure that we provide a space to amplify that.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that you talked about that a little bit. I think we are going to move on to some questions that are more specific to coffee.
Okay.
Can you tell us about any connection that you may have to coffee?
Oh, I have a big personal connection to coffee because my parents come from the coffee growing landscape. They are both from Manizales. And this farm I was talking to you about with my granddad, that's a coffee farm as well. So I grew up surrounded by coffee growing landscapes, and they're really, really close to my heart. And yes, with time and through my studies, I've learned that coffee growing landscapes are also really, really important for biodiversity. So these mid-elevation forests where most coffee is grown are peaks of biodiversity, not only birds, but everything else. So that transformation of habitats between a pristine forest to a coffee plantation, it's sort of less bad than turning it into a cattle pasture. So I've grown very, very interested in trying to promote best practices in coffee growing landscapes to promote and conserve this amazing biodiversity that exists here.
Just looking at the coffee plants, it's beautiful.
I know, they're so nice. It's so nice, isn't it? Yeah, it is a nice crop.
So your grandfather had a coffee farm. Do you remember around when that was last active?
Oh, it's still active. It's still active and it still produces coffee. So I think Granddad bought that land maybe in the 1950s at some point. I think early 50s probably. And it's still active, still in the family, and it's still going. It's still.
That's awesome. Was it ever a livelihood thing, or was it more?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, all my mom, this is my mom's dad, my mom's family, is a really large family. They're 8 siblings, and my granddad paid for their school, universities, and everything with that coffee farm pretty much.
Wow. That's all 8 siblings.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's amazing. It used to be much better than now, coffee.
We spoke to Sori, and she told us that a huge part of like their finca relied on family labor, but like now, because like a lot of the family has either moved or like does not have the capacity to help, that there's kind of been a transition of people who work there. Have you seen any of this transition happen within your own family finca?
Yeah, I guess in this case it wasn't. Well, my granddad used to manage the whole farm, and he was in charge of the whole operation, getting all the workers, establishing everything. After he died, then it was an uncle that took over sort of the administration of that. And then after he died, then it was a cousin, his son, and myself that sort of got together and said, okay, we really need to keep, because it was going to get sold. Everyone's like, okay, so granddad's gone, we can't manage the coffee anymore, we're just going to have to sell the farm. And he and I were like, oh my God, no, please not sell the farm. We love this land so much. It would be so sad to have to sell it. So we're struggling, and we're sort of keeping it together. So in that sense, I guess that the management of the farm has remained in the family. But in terms of the labor of the farm, it's always been outside labor from local people that work the land.
What type of labor do you all typically hire to help out?
So there's basically usually a family, a family that are the administrators of the farm, and it's a family that lives at the farm. and they do the management of all the workers that have to do the coffee picking and taking care of the plants and the trails and all the different aspects of the management of the coffee and the farming. So in general, there's like around 4 or 5 permanent workers, and then during the harvest, there's many more that come along just for the picking of the berries.
Would you know anything about the gender distribution of these workers?
Male.
All male?
Yeah, pretty much male. I mean, there's the women that are hired. During the harvest, there's more women, I'm lying. So there's whole families that travel around picking coffee, and you'll hire whole families of man, a woman, and sometimes they have their children as well with them. So during those times, those types of work, picking coffee is more balanced between men and female. But the rest of the time, it's basically men. No, it's men. For sure. Women are hired to do, cooking and housework, but no, it's very male dominated.
I guess like one interesting thing we've kind of like learned throughout this process, right, is that like our project initially started on that like 70% of the people who work on the finca are women, but now we're kind of finding like that academic fact is opposing the reality of that. Do you might know why? Maybe it's an opposition of that, or why maybe, I guess, if in the past women have more dominated the finca?
No, I don't think so. I wonder, it makes me wonder where that figure comes from really, because working the land in generally, here at least in Colombia, is completely male dominated. Women are at home having children and cooking. Yeah, pretty much. What has happened more now than before are that there's now women in charge of farms. Like Jimena, or like she inherited her farm from her dad, and she now manages, and she's the big boss now. That used to never happen. It was always a man, the man of the family who's the big boss. And now there's more of that. And there's also more equality in terms of that there's also men that go into the kitchen and do housework as well, right? Not only women. And the care of children and of adults, and it's more divided between male and female. But this is still a very male-dominated culture, at least here in Colombia. It's all. I mean, you will hardly see a woman go out with her machete managing the field plants. It's all going to be men, pretty much.
But would you say that some of the roles that are more domestic on a coffee farm, like you mentioned, cooking, taking care of kids, that type of thing, that's still the labor that women have been involved in helping?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it's unpaid labor, too. Because it's like this thing that is, women are supposed to be the carers. They are their responsibility to be the carers. And no one pays a woman to take care of people. So yeah, it's a really imbalanced and unfair situation, because women are working as hard and sometimes not getting paid. This is not the case right here, right now. Of course, all these women that are working here are getting paid. But in general, that's the culture, I guess.
It's like an example of like, say the husband works on the finca, but also has a wife and maybe a family, and then his wife will kind of tag along.
Exactly.
When these families travel around to work on the fincas, what type of roles do they do on the farm?
So they will typically they'll be coffee pickers. So during the harvest is when these huge populations, like there's lots of people that come and live in the fincas for the harvest, because you need a lot of hands, right? It's all picked manually, so you need lots of hands during a harvest. And all of these coffee farms, like this house right here where we're staying, used to be the place where all the coffee pickers would come and sleep during the harvest. So farms usually have like the big house where the owners of the farm live, and then a whole set of houses, or big houses, to host all these people that come to live in the farm during the coffee harvest. And whole families come, and they will be probably pickers. They'll have to do cooking and cleaning for all the people that are living in this place as well. And yeah, I would say that's about it.
I'm going to adjust this really quickly.
Mm-hmm.